Hello, this is Nikki Jackson from Southwest Tennessee Community College, and this video is going over examples from Self-Check 4.3 for Math 1710. Here's your first example. Pay close attention to the instructions where it's asking you to write out the first 5 terms or a geometric sequence. For those of you who have already taken the notes and paused in from stc.com, these particular geometric sequence means that there's going to be a constant whether you divide or multiply to get a term. In this case, we know that we're going to be multiplying by negative 10. So that's indicated right here. And then you're going to multiply the negative 10 by your first term. So know how I'm filling in the blanks right here. So your first term has to be 6 because that's what it's given. Then you're going to multiply 6 times negative 10, which is going to be your constant, which gives you negative 60. Then you're going to multiply negative 60 by negative 10 to get 600. Multiply 600 by negative 10 again to get the negative 6,000. And then multiply negative 6,000 to get the positive 60,000. Your next example, still dealing with a sequence, but this is dealing with arithmetic sequence, meaning that your constant is going to be either a subtraction of a number or the addition of a number. So notice right here, your constant is going to be negative 6, but you're starting off with negative 18. Now here's the thing about this. With the previous example, you had each one of these terms, so this is expanded form. But for this one, it wants you to just find the 20th term. So with that being said, we know that we want to start at negative 18. We also know this is a part of a particular formula, n minus 1, and then we know that we're going to multiply it by negative 6 because that's your constant. So given that you want the 20th term, so you're going to have substitute n as 20, and then whatever that is, which is 19, multiplied by negative 6, that gives you negative 114. So negative 18 plus 114 gives you negative 132. So make sure you be careful with that formula, which is provided for you in green. That's what we're using. Your next example is dealing with the annuity and interest. So notice how the formula for the annuity is already provided for you, where R is going to be your rate, N is going to be your time, T is going to be your time, and then N is going to be how many times it's actually going to be compounded. So take a moment to read it carefully. We know that we have a principal of $2,200. You're going to have a rate of 0.073. Notice how I changed the percent to a decimal. And it's compounded annually, meaning that your N is only going to be 1. For part A, it gives to you that your T is going to be 6. Then for part B, we want to know how much interest was gained. Notice right here that your interest is going to be the value of the RIA, which is what we're going to calculate for part A, minus the total deposits. So let's go ahead and get started. So notice how I've rewritten out the formula. When it's your turn to do this in a calculator, be very, very careful. You literally have to do this step by step. So you're going to be working backwards for each one. Do not try to put it all in together because you're not going to get the correct answer. So notice how I'm simplifying it for each step. So for this last step, once you multiply the $2,200 by whatever this is, you're going to divide it by the 0.073. Make sure you read your instructions carefully on about where to round. I'll round it to the nearest 100, but for this particular example, it wanted to round to the nearest whole number. That's just for part A. For part B, my apologies for the scribble scrabble. You're going to get what you actually got from the annuity, which is the $15,857, minus your total deposits. So remember, you actually put in a principal amount of $2,200. It was compounding annually, which is every year, and then you had it right here for 6 years. So once you calculate this part, subtract it from the $15,857, Your interest earned was $2,657. We have another example dealing with the geometric sequence. Please remember that when you're dealing with the geometric sequence, you're dealing with some type of pattern so you can figure out what it actually is. So it wants you to know that find the number of the first 13 or find the sum of the first 13 terms in the geometric sequence. Well, you can see that you're having a constant of a 4 because 4 times 3 is 12, 12 times 4 is 48, 48 times 192. 48 times 4 is 192. My apologies. But this one is asking for your sum. So what we're going to do, we're not going to use the summation formula, so that's why I scratched it out. We're going to use that particular formula. This formula is indicating that your first value times your 1 minus whatever your constant is to the whatever term is asking for, because the S stands for the summation. 1 minus whatever your constant is. In this case, your constant is represented by the variable R. We know that our first term was 3. We know that our constant was 4. And it wanted the sum of the first 13 numbers. So once again, when you do this, make sure you do it step by step in your calculator. So do the 4 to the 13th power first. Subtract that from 1. Multiply it by 3. And then divide by -3. Then you have your final answer of 67,108,863. Here's your last example from Self-Check 4.3. This is also dealing with the arithmetic sequence, except for this time it's not asking for the sum, it just wants to know the first 6 numbers. So notice how your first term is 400 and your constant is 20. Remember, by the definition of arithmetic sequence, you're either going to add or subtract to find your next term. Because this is a positive 20, we're going to add. So we added 20 to our first term, which gave us 400. Keep going with the summation. I'm sorry, let me not say summation so it won't be confusing. You keep adding 20 to the previous term, and then you're going to start at 6. Because that's what it's asking for. So thank you for tuning in for Self-Check 4.3 examples. Until next time.